Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and this is Voice of the Global South. All right then, let's get started. On the show this week, India takes on the combined force of Pakistan and its benefactor China and comes out on top. Deals a crushing blow to the Pakistani army and exposes deficiencies in China's military hardware. A second look at the nexus that exists between the Pakistani state and terrorists. Will the jihadi generals of Pakistan ever learn a lesson? And a humorous take on meme wars as Pakistan becomes the butt of online jokes. All that and much, much more coming up on Voice of the Global South. Make no mistake, India's Operation Sindoor was a message to China delivered via Pakistan. You could call it the India way. When India hurled bombs at and rained missiles on Pakistani bases, their tremors were felt in Beijing. Why? Because India did two things in full public glare. One, call Pakistan's nuclear bluff, and two, expose chinks in Xi Jinping's armor. Get this, Pakistan's military is heavily dependent on China's weaponry. More than 80% of Pakistan's inventory, including fighter jets and missiles, is of Chinese origin. But it proved useless in the face of India's air power. In 23 minutes flat, the credibility of China's military hardware lay in tatters thanks to India's superior technological edge. India bypassed and jammed Pakistan's Chinese-supplied air defense systems and hit Noor Khan and other Pakistani bases with surgical precision. I named the Noor Khan base for a particular reason. One look at where the Noor Khan base is located should be enough to tell you why it mattered. It is located in Rawalpindi, a garrison city about 10 kilometers away from Pakistan's capital, Islamabad, near the army headquarters and the Prime Minister's office. Also, the base is situated close to the headquarters of Pakistan's Strategic Plans Division Force. The Strategic Plans Division Force is responsible for safeguarding Pakistan's nuclear arsenal. It's also mandated to protect nuclear facilities where these weapons and materials are produced and stored. To quote Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India hit at the very heart of the Pakistani state. It would not be an exaggeration to say that broke the will of the Pakistani nation and forced its military to stand down. The message was delivered the India way. So much so that if some media reports are to be believed, now Pakistan is considering relocating its army headquarters from Rawalpindi. Analysts and military historians have since recounted how the Chinese-made HQ-9 surface-to-air missile defense system showed weaknesses, enabling India's long-range missiles to lock in and fire on targets after penetrating Pakistani aerial defenses. Clearly, for potential buyers of China's HQ-9, this combat data is alarming. And even before the Chinese could rush to his help, the Pakistani army chief was already burning the phone lines and literally pleading with the US to ask India to stop. And stop India did, but not before punching more holes in China's military capabilities. What you see is a part of the PL-15 missile. It's a beyond visual range air-to-air missile considered to be one of China's most advanced aerial weapons. Now, the PL-15s fired by Pakistan's Chinese-made fighter jets either missed their targets completely or malfunctioned mid-flight, with some missile parts falling in Indian territory. It challenges Chinese claims of the PL-15's precision, long-range capability and advanced guidance systems. As China strives to position itself as an alternative defense supplier to the world, a poor performance by Chinese-made weapons will obviously raise questions about reliability, more so because they had never been tested before in live combat. A bad advertisement for China. It reinforces the popular belief in India that the Made in China label is synonymous with low cost and low quality. Last heard, China was scrambling to peddle fake news in order to avoid further international embarrassment and salvage its reputation, or whatever is left of it. What makes it worse for Beijing is that India's predominantly indigenous air defense system successfully intercepted Chinese drones and fighter jets. In Prime Minister Modi's own words, India proved its superiority in new age warfare. The authenticity of Made in India weapons were proven, and the world is witnessing the efficacy of Made in India defense equipment in 21st century warfare. Adding insult to injury for China, a media report cited Yoon Sun, the director of the China program at the Washington, D.C.-based Stimson Center, as saying that India's Operation Sindoor also exposed Beijing's limited diplomatic power. China, which calls Pakistan as its all-weather ally and sees South Asia as being in its sphere of influence, was upset with the Pakistanis for not reaching out to it before seeking Americans out. In the end, it was left to the US to intervene, and even then, India held its own.
फिर दोहरा रहा हूं, हमने पाकिस्तान के आतंकी और सैन्य ठिकानों पर अपनी जवाबी कार्रवाई को अभी सिर्फ स्थगित किया है। आने वाले दिनों में हम पाकिस्तान के हर कदम को इस कसौटी पर मापेंगे कि वो क्या रवैया अपनाता है।
Modi went on to outline India's new security doctrine. 1. From now on, Operation Sindoor will be India's policy against terrorism. All future acts of terror would be treated as an act of war and given a befitting reply. 2. India will not tolerate nuclear blackmail. And 3. India will not differentiate between the government sponsoring terrorism and the masterminds of terrorism.
I therefore support Modi's policy of saying, that's it, we're not tolerating this. If you tolerate terrorist organizations that are recruiting, fundraising, operating in your country, we will attack them whenever we have a suitable target. That would be a perfectly logical position.
An India-Pakistan conflict is unlike most military confrontations for the simple fact that both India and Pakistan possess nuclear weapons. I'd like to pause here and give you a brief history of China-Pakistan nuclear collaboration. In his book titled The India Way, External Affairs Minister Subramaniam Jaishankar describes the transfer of Chinese nuclear know-how to Pakistan in the 1970s as the ultimate gift one nation can give to another in modern times. In its bid to keep Pakistan hyphenated to India, China transferred nuclear technology to Pakistan. Until then, only 3 countries had helped another country to make nuclear weapons. The US, which had helped the UK, the erstwhile Soviet Union, which had helped China, and France, which had shared nuclear know-how with Israel. What this short list highlights is how rarely this option had been exercised till then in international relations. Which is why I say it again. Between 7th May and 10th May, what India accomplished was extraordinary. It took on both the Pakistani army and Chinese military hardware at once and came out on top. It would not have been gone unnoticed in Taiwan, Japan or the Philippines, all of whom have ongoing disputes with China. Now, in the book, Minister Jaishankar writes that unlike the rest of the world, India's rise has been partly lost on China. Whoever says that the Chinese were good at reading tea leaves. And then in his own inimitable style, he concludes the chapter on China by saying, I quote him here, he says, "In chess, an Indian defense is a popular opening for those who find themselves playing black. And indeed, playing black has been the standard Indian strategic posture. As life becomes complicated, there are learnings in what Aaron Nimzowitsch introduced to the game a century ago. Known as the Nimzo Indian defense, he imaginatively created latitude for the black, and therein lies a lesson." Let me put that in its proper context for you. You see, in the game of chess, a player with the white pieces always makes the first move. So playing with black often implies a defensive posture. The term can also imply a strategic mindset. You are responding to the white's moves, defending initially while seeking opportunities to seize the initiative. A case in point, Operation Sindoor. India, playing black, responded to the 22nd April terror attacks in Pahalgam and subsequently retaliated to Pakistani provocation. The message was delivered the India way. Now, Pakistan is a state run by its army and intelligence service. The Pakistani military is a law unto itself. It's entrenched in the corporate sector. The Pakistani army operates a vast network of commercial assets estimated to be worth tens of billions of dollars. That, coupled with its deadly toxic cocktail of extremism, fundamentalism, terrorism and Islamist ideology, has impacted countries far and near, India included. Aman Kumar Himanshu profiles the Pakistani army, its jihadi general and the close linkages that exist between the Pakistani state and terror groups.
22nd of April, Pahalgam, India. Terrorists attack tourists in the Baisaran Valley in Jammu and Kashmir. 26 people, including one citizen of Nepal, are killed in cold blood. The terrorists target victims based on their religious identity, leading to widespread outrage across India and the world. 7th of May. India responds by launching an operation codenamed Sindoor. Sindoor is a traditional vermilion cosmetic powder worn by married Hindu women on their forehead. Indian armed forces hit 9 sites that housed terrorist infrastructure. It included the nerve center of the Pakistani terrorist group Jaish-e-Mohammed in Bahawalpur, the Lashkar-e-Taiba's headquarters in Muridke, and the Hizbul Mujahideen's facility in Sialkot. All 3 cities, Bahawalpur, Muridke and Sialkot, are located in the so-called Punjabi heartland, from where the Pakistani army draws its sustenance from.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर 22 अप्रैल को पहलगाम में हुए विभत्स आतंकवादी हमले के शिकार मासूम नागरिकों व उनके परिवारों को न्याय देने के लिए लॉन्च किया गया था। इस कार्रवाई में 9 टेररिस्ट कैंप्स को टारगेट किया गया और पूरी तरह से इसे बर्बाद किया गया। पाकिस्तान में पिछले 3 दशकों से टेरर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का निर्माण हो रहा है। इसमें रिक्रूटमेंट, इंडोक्ट्रिनेशन सेंटर्स, ट्रेनिंग एरियाज व लॉन्च पैड शामिल थे।
It was the first time in decades that Pakistani towns and cities in the province of Punjab that lie across the international border separating India and Pakistan were targeted. Bahawalpur and Muridke are notorious for being a center for training children and young men to carry out terror attacks in India. The Murid Seminary, locally known as Markaz, keeps the facade of a religious and charitable organization, but it actually serves as a front for training of terrorists. The Murid Seminary is based off Lashkar-e-Taiba's chief Hafiz Saeed. The seminary has had links to Osama bin Laden's Al-Qaeda. It has also had a hand in terror attacks in India, including the 2008 Mumbai attacks. Operation Sindoor was executed with precision, ensuring minimal collateral damage.
हमारी आर्म फोर्सेस ने कल जो कार्रवाई की है, जो शौर्य और पराक्रम दिखाया है, उसके लिए मैं हृदय से बधाई देता हूं। जिस प्रेसिजन के साथ यानी जिस सटीकता के साथ ऑपरेशन सिंदूर एग्जीक्यूट किया गया, वह अनइमेजिनेबल है, बहुत ही सराहनीय है। जिस तरह से इस ऑपरेशन को किसी भी इनोसेंट को नुकसान पहुंचाए बिना मिनिमम कोलेटरल डैमेज के साथ अंजाम दिया गया, वह इसलिए संभव हो पाया क्योंकि हमारे फॉर्मिडेबल एंड प्रोफेशनली ट्रेन्ड आर्म्ड फोर्सेस के पास इक्विपमेंट भी हाई क्वालिटी के थे।
That the Pakistani state is complicit in fomenting terrorism in India can be had from the fact that its army accorded a state funeral to a terrorist killed in the Indian retaliatory attacks. The funeral was attended by a top commander of Lashkar-e-Taiba as well as uniformed members of the Pakistani army. Now, the question is, what was the Pakistani military doing at a funeral for a slain terrorist? Why on earth would the coffin of a known terrorist be draped in the colors of a country's flag? Clearly, the presence of Pakistani soldiers at the funeral is further proof of the nexus between the Pakistani state, represented by the country's armed forces and intelligence agency, and terrorist groups.
If any civilians were killed in these attacks, I wonder what message this picture actually sends to all of you. This is a question that is worth asking. It's also odd that the funerals of civilians are carried out with the coffins being draped in Pakistani flags and state honors being accorded. As far as we are concerned, the individuals eliminated at these facilities were terrorists. Giving terrorist state funerals may be a practice in Pakistan. Doesn't seem to make much sense to us.
Pakistan's identity as a fountainhead of terror and a safe haven for terrorists is well documented and a widely acknowledged reality. In a television interview, Pakistan's Defence Minister Khwaja Asif admitted that Pakistan has been doing the dirty work for the West for decades. It was a stunning admission of Islamabad's long history of supporting, training and funding terrorist organizations.
You do admit, sir, that Pakistan has had a long history of backing and supporting and training and funding these terrorist organizations.
Well, we have been doing this dirty work for the United States for about 3 decades, and West.
A decade ago, a former Pakistani Army chief, General Pervez Musharraf, made a similar confession on public television, bragging about Pakistan's role in supporting and training terrorist groups in India's Jammu and Kashmir. According to a 2023 report by Congressional Research Service, Pakistan is home to 15 terrorist groups, of which 12 are proscribed as foreign terrorist organizations. The Congressional Research Service is a public policy research institute of the United States legislature. These 15 terror groups are categorized as India and Kashmir-centric, Afghan-focused, domestic terrorist, sectarian and global jihadi groups. As India-Pakistan tensions escalate, the clock seems to be ticking for Pakistani Army Chief General Asim Munir. General Munir shares certain attributes with the late Pakistani Army Chief General Zia-ul Haq. In 1977, Zia-ul Haq seized power in a military coup, ousted the then Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto and imposed martial law. General Zia implemented a program of Islamization. He introduced religious laws and policies into Pakistani society. Last month, General Munir did the same, spewing venom in a bid to sow communal discord on India. General Munir's dog whistle of calling Jammu and Kashmir as Pakistan's jugular vein is seen as a possible trigger for the Pahalgam attack. a proxy of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, the Resistant Front or TRF has emerged as the principal accused for the Pahalgam attack. Unlike many of his predecessors who came from elite military or bureaucratic backgrounds, General Munir had a modest upbringing. He was educated at a madrasa or an Islamic seminary before joining the army. He is a Hafiz-e-Quran, a Muslim who has memorized the holy book in Islam by heart. As army chief, he often incorporates Quranic verses and Islamic theology into his speeches, effortlessly switching between English, Urdu and Arabic. His upbringing in a deeply religious environment has shaped his ideological outlook and reinforced his belief in the two-nation theory, which was the foundational idea behind the creation of Pakistan as a distinct country separate from India. General Munir wants to consolidate power in Pakistan by appealing to the right wing. Pakistan, in other words, an army backed by Islamic clerics. General Munir is a former chief of Pakistan's military intelligence and the inter-services intelligence. Notably, he was the ISI chief when terrorists struck Pulwama in India in February 2019, in which at least 40 Indian paramilitary personnel were killed. The timing of the Pahalgam attack indicates the compulsions of the Pakistani army and General Munir to escalate terrorism in order to divert the attention of the Pakistanis from their domestic problems. Right now, Pakistan is facing one of its worst economic crises in decades. The country faces frequent power outages and protests over rising cost of living. The irony, though, is that Pakistan's military establishment remains wealthy and powerful, not just in terms of defense, but also in business. The Pakistani army resembles a commercial enterprise. It owns a big chunk of industry, land and other assets in the country. Pakistani scholar Aisha Siddiqa calls it Millibus, short for military business. Between 2011 and 2015 alone, the Pakistani army assets grew by 78%. By 2016, the armed forces in Pakistan ran over 50 commercial entities. In 2024, the commercial assets were worth more than $40 billion. The Pandora Papers exposed a long list of Pakistan's former military officers who had accumulated immense wealth through tax evasion and corruption. The military's rise to power in Pakistan is linked to cultivating a collective ethos that portrays politics as inherently corrupt while positioning itself as the sole bastion of honesty, discipline and nationalism. After all, Pakistan is toiling with a three-front war, fighting Baloch insurgents in the west, battling the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan in the northwest and facing rising tensions with India to the east. Multiple crises of its own making at home. The ethnic Baloch, who live in the country's largest province of Balochistan, bordering Iran and Afghanistan, feel marginalized and discriminated against by the Punjabi-dominated army. The Balochistan Liberation Army claimed responsibility for an IED attack in Balochistan's Kachi district, resulting in the deaths of 14 Pakistani soldiers. The BLA is the largest Baloch militant group that's been waging an insurgency against the Pakistani state for decades on end. The Baloch seek independence for Balochistan and an end to China exploiting the region's mineral wealth. Aman Kumar Himanshu's report for DD India.
The Gen Z fought their own little battles in the digital domain using memes that sting harder than missiles and photoshopped fighter jets. Fake pilots, phantom drones and digital jabs made Pakistan the butt of online jokes as meme wars went viral. Ragini Sudhir Chaure has more.
Pakistan, a land where memes come before facts and Photoshop flies faster than fighter jets. Memes unleashed.
कोई तरीका है भीख मांगने का?
India's Press Information Bureau roasted Pakistan's economic crisis with a viral meme. ये कोई तरीका है भीख मांगने का? Is this any way to beg for alms?
कोई तरीका है भीख मांगने का?
To top it off, they created a new designation, Chief Begging Officer, Government of Pakistan. Golmaal, lone flip-flop. India's Press Information Bureau quoted from the Bollywood film Golmaal to mock Pakistan's U-turn on financial aid. One day it's please help us.
कोई तरीका है भीख मांगने का?
The next day, it's never mind.
Oh, never mind.
Even script writers were confused. Pakistan banega Afghanistan. As the economy tanked, memes erupted. Pakistan banega Afghanistan. Harsh? Maybe. Viral? Absolutely. 1971 saved Bangladesh. Another jab that trended 1971 saved Bangladesh. Suggesting that splitting Pakistan in 1971 was the best decision Dhaka ever made. Digital surgical strike. India didn't fire missiles, it fired memes. One post called it a digital surgical strike, and let's be honest, it landed. Fake news fiesta. Runways cratered, bases flattened, terror camps reduced to ashes, but Pakistan still held a victory parade. Because why not?
हमारे यहाँ ऐसा ही होता है.
Fake jet footage. Pakistan claimed to destroy Indian bases. The video? It showed Indian anchors reporting Pakistani losses. Oops. The submarine that wasn't. Next up, the great Pakistani Navy caper. They claimed a stealth sub. Turned out to be another photoshopped image. The fake lady pilot. They said they captured an Indian female pilot. Turns out she didn't exist. Even Netflix couldn't write this plot. Gameplay passed off as airstrike. They aired a Pakistani airstrike. Gamers spotted it instantly. It was literally a video game. Phantom drones over Delhi. They claimed Pakistani drones flew over Delhi. Reality? No drones, no flyover, just overactive imagination. Perception warfare. This isn't just comedy. This is perception warfare. Flood the feed, hijack the headlines. Forget winning the war, just win the trend. But here's the glitch in their strategy. The truth may be slow, but it doesn't lag. For every fake frame, there's a fact checker waiting. For every viral lie, 1,000 eye rolls. Even the best Reels filter can't hide reality. Diplomacy or stand up? High Commissioner glitch. Pakistan's High Commissioner to the UK declared they'd help fight terrorism. The anchor hit him with facts. He froze. Someone please reboot him. Minister says, check social media. Pakistan's defense minister claimed they downed 5 Indian jets. Proof? It's all over social media, he said.
5 fighter jets shot down. Where's the evidence for that, sir?
It's all over the social media, or Indian social media.
Meme diplomacy. Pakistani officials have become walking punchlines. Even their parliament has turned into a meme hub.
कि एक एंकर उससे पूछते हैं कि आप कह रहे हैं कि पाकिस्तान ने 5 जहाज गिराए हैं, इसका कोई प्रूफ, कोई सबूत है? तो ये कहता है सोशल मीडिया.
So what's the moral of the story? Pakistan can keep uploading fantasy, but India will keep live streaming the facts. Ragini Sudhir Chore for DD India.
And with that, it's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.